Yes. So I've been working from home for like 6 years, and this is new for me, so it's intimidating, but hopefully it will go well. So my talk is called Using Remix the Wrong Way, and maybe before we start, who here has been using Remix? Yeah? Can you keep your hands up? What about React router with the data router? Okay, so not many people. Hopefully you will learn a few things. Maybe it's the wrong way, I don't know. So, hi everyone, my name is Antoine, 31 years old. I've been building software for the past 10 years. I'm a software freelancer. I usually work with startups, but lately I've been trying to build my own products, and I've been using Remix for this. So, you know, I've been using Remix for like 2 years now. I started when it got open source, so version 1, and this project is now running on React Router v7. Was like 3 days ago, and hopefully it's fine. So first of all, thank you, the Remix team, for making the upgrade so smooth. For me, it's been like 2 hours of work, and mostly fighting with ESLint, so nothing to do with React Router. So it's been really good. So today I want to share with you how it's been going, a few lessons that I learned, and I want to share what I liked, what I think could be improved a little bit maybe, and of course what I loved about Remix, because yeah, you can see the sticker, I guess. Is it on the, yeah, I'm not sure about the side. So please join me on a journey, and today I would like to show you like the product, how it started, how it is now, and you know, how I've been working with Remix this whole time. So a little bit of context. This is the app I'm building. It's like a social media platform for freelancers. The basic idea is that I wrote the text editor I wish I had to publish on LinkedIn, and you get the preview, you can mention people, like there are many features. I'm working on this with my wife on our spare time. And you know, the app has not always been like this. When I started, this was the proof of concept. Yeah, it looks really bad, I know. The idea was just to see if I could get access to the APIs. It might seem obvious that you can, but actually it's a little bit of work. So I was not really focused on the design, and you know, it's just like a basic form. You can see like a form, bunch of inputs, few buttons, should be easy, right? So in my mind, I was like, this is just a form submission. Like, why would I waste time setting up like API endpoints, server deployments, front-end deployments? It's just too much work for me. Remix just came out, so you know, let's use it, right? So what's Remix exactly? There are a few things that you should know to understand better the rest of the talk. So some people call it a React meta framework, whatever that means. I'm not sure, but it's based on React, so it's good for me. I've been using React for 10 years, so I get to keep the knowledge that I got for 10 years. It's nice. A full stack web framework, depending on your definition of full stack, may be true, but it does include some really good server-side features that I find really interesting, and we'll talk about those a little bit later, right? So for me, you know, it's like Remix is just one of the tools that I use. And tools, they are made for a purpose, right? But it happens to be a tool with really strong opinions on how you should do a few things. And this strong opinion is the coupling between the routing and the data fetching. So let's focus a little bit on how like a page, like your app works with Remix. Like the main piece I feel is the router. It does like many things, and it's quite interesting how it works. So the entry point is the URL. Like we had a great talk yesterday from François about the URLs, and like the philosophy is really nice. You just get the address, reach for a server. At this point, just knowing the URL, you know everything you need to render the page. So you know all the components that should get collected to display on the page. You also know all the data that you need, because like the URL, you can use it to teleport your state. So it's the way, like it's like the identifier for the page that we want to see. So in a Remix, the way you work with those is you define routes. And routes, it's like a Remix specific concept, right? Sometimes we say API routes, and we like refer to like the API endpoint. For Remix, like a route is like a combination of multiple things, and this is simplified, right? But at its core, it's like a component, so it's going to be what's on the page. It's a loader, so this is a function to get the components required, the data required to render the component, and you get like an action, which is how you can update the state to the database, for instance. And those routes, they are mapped to URL segments. So I just stole this example from the website because it's just too good. I would not re-implement it myself. So you have like multiple routes, and you can see like the sales segment. It's actually, the sales segment is this blue part. Then you get the invoice segment, and then the invoice ID. And you know, you have this nested layout, and like each route has its own data fetching. So, like, oops. Yeah, multiple screens, complicated. So each route defines the data it needs to work, right? So in code, this is how it works. So you have like the server-side code. You have the loader here. So loader is pretty cool. You're on the server, so you can reach for the database. You can check authentication, throw a redirect. You can return data, and you know, this is really nice. You can do like a lot of work here. And then you can consume the data using the use loader data. And at this point, it's just a JavaScript object that you can like pass to any component. It's fine. There's no like loading state or whatever. You know, the data is just, it got here and you can consume it, you can use it. And then there's like a little bit of advanced magic, right? So for me, the magic happens when you start adding actions into the mix. So actions are also server-side features. So this function only runs on the server, and you can read the request body, like the form data, like the JSON, whatever you want. You can like send emails, update fields to the database, whatever. And then the way you call an action in a Remix app is basically using forms or fetchers, but in this example, we'll focus on forms. And you know, you just submit the form and everything is in sync. You don't have to invalidate any cache. So any data that is displayed on the page will like get in sync with the updated state on the backend. So that's really good, but like, what's the secret? How is it working? Just gonna drink a little bit of water. So the secret is this thing that Cursor created this for me. It just cloned the React router and told it to like create a mermaid schema. So like, there's the form. It does a submission. Then you execute the action. And this is like the nice stuff. Then like your app enters in a like revalidation stage. And all the routes that are matching the current URL, they will like get the loaders called. So the new data is collected. There's also the active features on the page that get the data collected. But I mean, it's only like collected. The important part is that the UI update, like the last arrow that you have on the diagram, is like flushed at once. And so this is like the tricky part when you want to get out of Remix. We'll see this a little bit later. So this model is really easy to reason about because you just have the current state, form submission, and somehow everything is like, the data is consistent between all the different objects. You don't have flickers on the page, so for the user, it's really stable, right? You don't have like this, this data has been invalidated, it's refetched, and the UI updates before the other data has been invalidated as well. So it's really good, you know, you have a nice DX, nice user experience, but you know, what if you need something different? So the app has changed quite a bit. Like, will this play? Yeah. So this is now what the app looks like. So this is the home page. You have like the list of the posts that you wrote. Please, oops. Why is it not playing? So you have the list of the posts. Then you have like the calendar view. You also have the same data, just shown in a different way. right? Then there's the editor, which has changed quite a lot. Like it's no longer just like a text area. You know, you can do bold, italic. You can tag people, pages. There's like snippets that you can reuse. So you know, it's not a text area. You cannot build this with only like the form primitives, right? And of course, there's AI now, so you can stream data like you've seen this morning with Tejas. So you know, it's quite advanced. It has changed quite a lot, right? And it's also way more complex. So what changed exactly? For me, it's three things. And first one is server-side rendering. So Remix, by default, it runs your loaders, and it also server-side render your components. But some components, they don't play really nice with server-side rendering. A few examples, like when you render a date on the server, if you have a different time zone than in the client, you're going to get some hydration mismatch. So we have to deal with those. And some components, they are just more advanced. Like for me, this rich text editor is everywhere in the app. And you know, it's packed with like features. So I'm creating DOM nodes here. So I need the document, right? Like this is like a few, many DOM nodes are created to create this experience, right? So I'm using Lexical for this, which is a framework that you know only works on the client, and it's not really compatible with progressive enhancement. It's not like typical form elements. And the editor state is exported as JSON, so I cannot like serialize it into like some form data, submit it only to parse it again on the server. You know, it makes things like a little bit more complicated. So what I ended up doing, so maybe it's wrong, I don't know, you tell me, started wrapping some like views of my app in a client-only component. So just disabling server-side rendering on a few pages. And at some point, it was like too much of the app was client-side only. So you know, I just disabled the whole like logged-in experience, and decided that to go like single-page app at this on this section. But like the biggest change for me was like data is no longer coupled to a specific route. So there are two things for me that made me think this is more data is required to render each screen. So when you want to render the post, you also need to load like the tagged people. You also need to collect like metadata around the post. So and every time you render the post widget, you need all those data. So you know, it's like a lot of things for every single screen. And there's something else. Is like data is sometimes reused across multiple components, but those components, they don't necessarily map to any route. So for instance, like this is the example. User can create a post from this place, but also from the calendar, and also using shortcuts anywhere in the app. But this dialog, it requires some async data, and so the data that is in the dialog is not coupled to any route. But Remix, like data strategy, wants you to like fetch data at the route level, right? So maybe you can like trying to find a common ancestor and you, like load some kind of global data in a parent root. It's what I did, but you know, after a few months, there's like so much data in here. And remember, when you do when you call an action in Remix, everything gets revalidated. So you know, revalidation becomes really expensive because you just load so much in those routes. So at this point, I was like, yeah, React query, you know, 10-stack query now would be really nice. I get to select which data I want to invalidate and refresh, right? And something else changed. So the forms, like in the proof of concept, was really nice, just a bunch of inputs, text area, yeah, good. But like when the app grows, the forms, they get more complex. You know, you get conditional validation. You just have like arrays of objects. You no longer require clicking the submit button. So I'm not saying this is impossible to implement with Remix, but you know, I've been using this library for a long time, and I want to reuse the knowledge. I don't want to like learn something new all the time. But the problem is the form component, it's coupled to the router because the form is like a navigation, right? So you're calling the action from the form. So it's deeply integrated into the routing. So is there a way to make it work, the combination of the three of those tools? And that's what I've been exploring. And so this is like the story of how I migrated incrementally, because so I'm the only one coding the project, and I don't want to waste my time rewriting everything. I have users, actual users, for a side project, which is nice. And they want new features as well, so I cannot stop the development. I have to find a strategy to fit the new ways of doing things and still ship new features, right? So let's see how I did it. This is like the typical Remix app Triforce. You have like loader, component, action, and the loader gives the data to the component calls an action triggers the loaders. Great. So if you want to start the migration, what you can do is a few things to prepare you. Like, brace yourself, right? So you can create like Remix agnostic API endpoints. So you can actually use Remix as resource routes if you want, but you can also implement your API in a different language and deploy it somewhere else. It's fine. So just create your API, you can test it, deploy it, do whatever you want on the side. It's not going to impact your product. Then you can start setting up React query. So depending on your setup, it's going to be like a little bit more work. For me, I just wrap the app in client only, so in the end, it behaves like a single page app, so I get to use like the setup of like the basic React query setup. If you use server-side rendering, you can also like prefetch the data on the server, hydrate it in the client cache. There's API for that, so you can use it, like read the documentation, of course. So at this point, this is like the state we're in. You can still ship to prod, like nothing has changed. You just made a little tiny step. And this is now like the real work starts, right? And I'm gonna drink a little bit of water. So the first step was seeding the query cache in client loaders. So in a Remix app, this is how you load the data, and you can also add client loaders. Client loaders, they're the same as loaders, but they're running directly on the user's device, and they can call the server loader. So what you can do is like create like a proxy, which is going to fetch data, start writing into the query cache using the set query data, and you just return the data. And at this point, what you do is just like feeding the cache when the user navigates in the app. At the moment, the cache is unused, but this is the second step, right? You can start reading data from the caches. So the way I did it was refactoring a little bit to extract like these hooks, and then you can change the implementation to stop using the loader data and start reading in the query cache. So a few things to note here is since the loaders that you run before the app is rendered, you know that the data is in the cache. So you don't want to deal with pending, like loading states and nullability. So you can use suspense query for this. And you can also set like the stay time and GC time to infinity, because it's Remix that is driving the freshness of the data, right? Anytime the user does something, data revalidates, and you just write in the query cache. So we've broken a dependency between the loaders and the components, and the components just read the data from the query cache. That's good. Now we can start. The next phase is what to do with actions. So you guessed it, you can use client actions, and you can just remove the action and replace it with a client action. And instead of reaching from for your server code, you can just call the API that you created before the migration. If you don't want your API to talk about form data, which many of us maybe don't like, this is the perfect place to create an adapter to change turn form data into JSON, right? So that's pretty good. So this is now what we're doing. We're still using Remix to drive the revalidation of the data. And now what we can do is starting to invalidate the caches. So this is like the tricky bit. It's just one line of code, but it can break your app, so you must pay attention here. So if you remember, Remix, just submit an action. It's going to collect all the new data, put it in the routing context, making it available for your components. So you don't have to really think about this mutation is updating this data, and you don't have to think about invalidation. If you want to migrate like this, you take care of this yourself, so you need to add the invalidation. It may seem like not much, but this can break your app, because Remix is collecting all the data and committing everything at once. But what we've done here is invalidating the data inside the action. So if there are query observers on the page, they will start refetching the data. And so you have you can have some flickers or maybe referencing data that does not exist. So, just hopefully you're a test for your app. Now you can do it with Playwright. So yeah, pay attention here. It's not easy. And the final step is introducing React hook form and mutations. So you can start removing your client action, creating your custom mutations. And what you can do is, there are a few things that you should do. Since you're no longer using a remix revalidation cycle, you need to take care of the revalidation yourself. So you need to synchronize the remix cycle with your mutations. So you need to call revalidate and maybe navigate if there were redirects. And it's not that easy. It's get better with React Router v7 because they know expose promises, so you can synchronize things a little bit better, but it's not perfect. And then you can stop using the form components and use regular form, React hook form, and call your mutation. And so this is the new state we're in, and all that's left is repeat the process until you've eliminated everything that you don't want anymore, and boom, you're done. You can keep actually the client loaders because it's really nice to feed the cache before the page renders. I like that. So what did we gain exactly? What I wanted, right? Data is no longer coupled to any page. It's just a basic React query app now. You can do anything you want. It's good. And the React Router is actually integrated with Suspense, so you can use Suspense query pretty easily. You can selectively invalidate the caches, which is what I wanted as well. So I'm no longer blowing up the whole state and refetching it. It's just I can atomically select what I do. But what did we lose? Because Remix, when you do this kind of migration, you see all the works that it's been doing this whole time for us, right? So we lose page stability by default. You may have some flickers that you didn't have with Remix because it was refetching all the stuff and committing everything at once. So you need to take care of this. Race conditions as well. So for me, I use a lot of debounce, calling mutation in debounce. In Remix, they would cancel the fetchers, so you always get the latest response. I believe you have to now implement this kind of stuff yourself. And you also lose progressive enhancement because your whole app is wrapped in a client only, so you cannot use the native form submission. In my case, it was fine though, because my text editor was not compatible with the form primitives, so I need a lot of JavaScript to submit execute the mutation. So, is it worth it? Yeah, typical answer, it depends. So in my case, it's what I wanted, so I'm pretty happy with migration. It may not be your case, but if you want to migrate a React Query app to a Remix app, pretty sure you can apply the step backwards to get you to your new desired state. So am I still using Remix at this point? Because I'm no longer using the main feature, which is data loading and actions. So yes, the answer is yes. I'm still using Remix, and actually, it's so flexible. It allowed me to opt out of many things, and I get to keep a lot of benefits, which I really like. So I have a great DX. It's based on Vite, which I really love. I like the layout and routing, nested layouts, how you can do it with Remix. I found it really nice, and you can customize it with the routes file now. I just love it. It's really nice. You can keep using SSR and progressive enhancement for other pages. So for instance, the onboarding flow, maybe you actually want to keep progressive enhancement here so that the user can still log in and register to your app if the JS is not loaded. So you get to pick what you want to use. Loaders in action, you can keep using it for simple pages. So for me, the settings pages, it's just clicking button, submission, yeah, fine. So why would I create more work for those pages? It's fine. And what I really like is server-side auth and redirect. So you know what I dislike about single-page apps is when you log in, from the front end you have to check if the token is okay, blah, 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 show some spinners, and then just redirect. But you can do it on the server, right? You have like the session, you can read all the stuff from the request. And my favorite features that is not really in the Remix documentation is that it can be easily integrated with any like existing node server. So like this is my app, how it works. So I have a lot of background jobs. So I'm using Nest. You know, I like the DI with Nest. But Nest, it runs on Express or Fastify, but I just picked Express, no comment here. And the Remix, it can compile to like some Express middleware. And so you can just call it manually from like a Nest controller. And for me, I'm a little bit paranoid, and I don't want to rely on my bundler to eliminate code. So I just have no business logic in my Remix code base. Everything is injected from Nest. And you know, by design, I cannot leak any secret or like business code, right? So for me, it's very interesting mixing the two. And I think I'm not the only one. So I'm not working at OpenAI, so maybe what I'm saying is not true. If you work at OpenAI, you can tell me. So this is ChatGPT, and if you have a look at the DevTools, they use React Router, but there's not much in the loader data section, right? There's only the current user session. They don't have like the chats and all the stuff. So I think they're just using it basically like I do. And if you look at the manifest, they're not using actions. They only have one out of the many routes that they have. So my guess is that they use it for like the shell and the authentication, a few server-side stuff. Then they render a page that is not blank. It's just like a placeholder. And then from this point, it's just like a single page app with fetch calls and, you know, like we used to do. So too long, didn't listen. Framework, they're just tools. You have many tools in your toolbox. Remix is just one. You don't have to use all the features. When I started using Remix, I was really excited about many things, including loaders and actions. I was excited about defer, like the fact that you can like throw a promise in there and resolve it on the client was really nice. But in the end, it's just like I don't feel like it was aligned with like my product, the way it changed. So I just decided to stop using a few features, and it's fine, you know. Migrate incrementally, don't rewrite. This one is important for me because you know I'm the only one like coding. So if I do something, then nothing else is being done on the project. So you don't want to waste time. So try to always find some kind of sequence. Then you can continue shipping to prod, stop the migration, put everything to prod. You know, I think it's like the best mindset that you can have for the product. That's it. So thank you for your time.